This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Weekend and lots to discuss coming out of it as we welcome you into this Monday edition of Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas at Circa Resort and Casino, home of the world's largest sports book. We had mayhem in the college football playoff. We saw shifts of power in a handful of NFL divisions yesterday, and 4 outright dogs getting wins in their respective games. A lot going on.
Yesterday was actually a really good day, I thought. Like, even in the afternoon games, the final results there and the final plays that ultimately had to be turned away by the Chicago Bears, or if you're the Las Vegas Raiders and you decide to just cover for no reason, all sorts of stuff. So yesterday, I think, finally lived up to it. You and I have watched some duds on Sunday, and yesterday was actually a pretty good day.
Well, and it was funny, too, because even one game that we had kind of relegated to an off TV, you're like, oh, no, there's other games that are going to be more important, ended up being the Bucs and Saints going head-to-head, and then even that ended up being a down-to-the-wire game in which the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get upset as one of the biggest favorites on the day.
Yes, and some would say we finally saw, ding dong, the witch is dead. The Kansas City Chiefs dynasty come to an end last night.
Yes, and that is something we will discuss at length today, among others. But let's set the table for everything that we do have to come on a very busy Monday. Time for the Rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
JVT, it is hard to say there's been a more appropriate time to do this segment, but coming off of this weekend, I'm very much so looking forward to Call Me Crazy But.
Yeah, you're crazy on something, I'll tell you that much.
I already know, because instantly when I looked at the rundown this morning, it was like live as I scrolled back over to the sheet, and I saw you combating my very first opinion and take on that.
And I'm just kind of pushing, but I actually do vehemently disagree with you.
Yeah, usually you don't even fill it out until, second
we don't
segment
have to
of the day here
that
on
level
the
of
show.
detail
It's
for our
fine.
audience.
Also, why are you matching me today? This is 2 days in a row. It's becoming a problem.
I mean, who's to say you got dressed first today?
It's definitely me. I feel like you're the type of guy who gets ready for the show, like in your pajamas and everything, and then right before you leave, you change.
No, I mean, it's just shower and everything. I'm just like, what are you talking about?
I don't know.
I got hair, you gotta. I was actually trimming the mustache this morning,
Okay.
Got some nice scissors. Make sure that
it's starting to fill out pretty nicely, I'll say. Although
we
did get questions yesterday on Live Bet Sunday and Countdown to Kickoff if you feel emasculated doing hits with Warren Sharp, which I could see happening.
One day I will emasculate him.
Okay.
Just watch. Just wait.
Clip that
Didn't
tape.
happen overnight, all right? Rome wasn't built in a day.
Clip that tape. We'll play it on Sunday. Also, the news item heard around the world. We will react to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee final set of rankings. Miami in, the Irish out. We'll discuss where the committee got it right, where they horrendously got it wrong.
So a Ron Burgundy-esque type moment here. I just put that in the rundown. The Bienvenidos a Miami. It is the
Welcome, Miami.
Well, yes, but it's also in reference to, I thought we should use that, the Will Smith song. You don't remember the Will Smith song?
No.
What?
That's a reference that's lost on me.
Oh,
Apologies.
Come on now. All right, I'll have to play that for you. Let's go. Big Willie style, I believe, the album. Come on now.
So this will be the one day, like yesterday and today, this is the only time we will complain about the rankings and our thoughts on it, because after this, we will push it completely forward from a numbers-based item, and we do have a lot of that we'll get into today. There are markets from a futures perspective in addition to just what the national championship will be, teams to make the natty, teams to make the semifinal, a lot of different things that we'll get into, as well as the game-by-game spreads. And while Week 15 is upon us in the National Football League, and there are numerous injuries and line moves to account for already, Week 14 ain't over yet. We got a big one on Monday night tonight from SoFi Stadium, which we will preview numerous times throughout the course of the day. Eagles at Chargers. Look-ahead opener on this game, JVT, was Eagles -1.5. Got out as high as 3. Number for most of the week has been sitting Eagles -2.5, yet the current consensus number is 2. There are still a couple 2.5s out there. Total 41.5. But this number has been a little all over the place, and all eyes, it's no secret, are going to be on the left non-throwing hand of Justin Herbert after he injured it last week against the Raiders, had surgery to repair a broken bone in that hand Monday of this past week. Inserted plates and screws for stability and intends to play through it tonight.
Yeah, limited in practice all week, so I think you're going to be fine in terms of his availability. As you mentioned, I don't think we're too worried about like a late rug pull by the time we get to the contest today. Really, it just comes down to, so how are the Chargers going to handle this? And it's almost a not a blessing in disguise, that's not the proper term, but somewhat serendipitous, I think I'm using this term correctly, that the week in which your quarterback hurts his hand, the best run stuffer on a below-average run defense gets hurt, and he's not going to be available in Jalen Carter. So it's like the Red Sea's part, and you're like, here we go. I think we have a strategy here. I think you're going to see a lot of running from the Chargers. They're floating around like 20th in total percentage of plays via the run. They're around 19th in in terms of just carries, attempts per game as well. So they don't run the ball as much as you would think if you look at some of the overall metrics. But I would think that you're going to ratchet that up a little bit here, given Herbert's hand and given the status along the defensive line, or the absence, I should say, of one Jalen Carter.
And also, for as good as Kamani Vidal has been in the backfield as a running back, also looks like Omarion Hampton is going to be back for the first time since suffering that fractured ankle back in Week 5. Not officially official. He is still listed as questionable right now, but based on some of the roster moves that they've made, looks like they're clearing space for some of those IR activations. Let's continue down the injury path, though, here real quickly before we get back to that. You mentioned Jalen Carter. He had a procedure and now following treatment on both of his shoulders. Also, their right tackle, Lane Johnson, is going to be out for the third straight game. The right tackle that's been filling in for him, Fred Johnson, pretty significant downgrade there as well. Has already given up more pressures and sacks than Lane did, but on 104 fewer pass blocking opportunities. Their run game has suffered with him out as well. So a couple things to keep an eye on there. To go back to the Justin Herbert of it all, though, like what else does this mean for the way he's going to play other than the obvious in that we're probably going to see more shotgun pistol formations from him and running the football? Like he's going to be handing the ball off, I assume, with just the right hand. So how does that make things look different? Yeah,
I mean, I think there's that. I think you're looking at potential like time to throw for Herbert. Generally, if you're looking at time to throw this season for him, I think he's pretty low down there in terms of like time to throw. In that, like he, is I think a little bit longer in terms of how long he's got it. Yeah, so in terms of time to throw for Herbert, that is, I should have had this ready, 17th in the NFL among qualified passers, 2.86. I would assume that you get a little bit quicker, right? Get the ball out of your hands. You don't want to, again, have these deep drops, have him take some unnecessary hits. I think in general he's going to be fine. If you go back to the press conference that they had post the Raiders game, they immediately talked about how they put a hard cast over it. They put it in the glove. It's going to be pretty well protected. So outside of like what you're talking about, the grip and how you hand it off, I think you're going to feel relatively comfortable still in lining up under center and doing generally everything that you usually do. There were a couple like clips that were going around of Herbert trying to practice some under center snaps. They didn't look great. So maybe he was doing it on purpose because he knew everybody was watching. Potentially, just for the open media practices, and then when the media goes away, they're like nails. Would you doubt Harbaugh in terms of maybe having that tact to be like, dude, just act like you're having some trouble with it, okay? He's never had any underhanded tactics whatsoever, so I can understand why you would think he's all about showing the toughness. Yeah. Also, do want to thank Spot Odds, as always, for the injury updates today from professional sports bettors like Billy Walters to world-class bookmakers like the ones right here at Circa where we're broadcasting from. Everyone who bets big or books big uses Spot Odds. You can use the tools the pros use when you subscribe at spotodds.com. Use the code VSIN. Get a special discount there as well. You very early on, with the thought process and assumption that Justin Herbert was going to play in this game, snacked up that 3. You feel good about it still at the 2s that are largely available out there? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, where's Philly at right now with these injuries and the way that they've been playing? That against a playoff caliber opponent in the Chargers, they would deserve to be on this cross-country trip favored here against LA. Now, you can make the argument, I think, we've talked a lot about home field in this NFL season. We always talk about the Chargers not really having one. I mean, I guess the fact that people aren't there matters to the point spread. I would think that that's not really that big of a deal. I still think that you're probably closer like pick here than you are Eagles minus 2.5, given everything we know about this situation. I mean, do you not feel that way? Like I think 2.5 is still playable here. I think 2 is still playable. I thought that this should be pick and not Eagles minus 2.5. I stayed off of it. This feels eerily similar to me, at least in the frame of how I look at this game, to the way that I was handicapping the Steelers and Ravens, where I'm like, I just don't really know what to make of these two teams and where they're at this point, because the Eagles obviously are in a position where they're trying to bounce back. They have the back-to-back losses against the Cowboys and Bears, and the Chargers seem to be trending up, winning 4 of their last 5 games. But then you look at the opponents that they beat in the Vikings, the Titans, the Steelers, and the Raiders, and now you have an injured starting quarterback. And how much am I supposed to believe that this is, actually a really
great, solid as a rock team playing at home. I just don't know. So I think tonight, at least for me, is going to be more of a feeling out type of a game.
Yeah. Do you have any, so wait, you're not going to go SGT here. I texted you earlier. I felt like this was like a Stormy special. You can get this up to 8.5 for the Chargers, and you can go like under. It's
very tempting.
47.5.
It's very tempting. 4 straight Eagles games, by the way, have gone under the posted total,
or 48, depending on where you shop for your total too.
Yes, It's a point of conversation I think we can get to, and maybe a little bit later on when we do dive into the prop market like we will. And I think especially stuff for Herbert and Jalen Hurts specifically in the quarterback market, there could be some potential for opportunity. Just not something I have added to the account yet. And after what was a good Sunday, I don't know if I want to risk ruin it for a game I'm not passionate about.
Calm down.
Is that fair?
We don't have to talk about that. We just march on.
Oh, no.
Just let the results speak and just march on.
Why can't you ever just be happy for yourself?
No, come on now. We can't do that. The last time you did that, I think I absolutely got my face caved in on Thanksgiving. No, you can't do it. You can't do it.
I wasn't even saying you had a good week. I said I had a good Sunday.
I'm saying that might happen to you. I'm actually looking out for you here. I'm looking out for you.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, though, 4 straight Eagles games have gone under the posted total. I thought this was another just interesting trend associated with the game, and not that this means anything in reality, but the Chargers also 7-2 against the spread in primetime games under Harbaugh, 6-3 outright. So with them being a dog, they have won in this fashion more often than not.
When the lights are bright, they stand tall.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay, that said, you hear the music. We got to take our first time out of the day. Coming up on Money Moves, we will react to the weekend that was in the NFL. The Bears' late game comeback finally comes to an end. Has the Chiefs' kingdom officially fallen? Plus, why another result in the AFC West has bettors claiming the NFL is rigged. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So correct me if I'm wrong, JVT, but I don't think it's hyperbole to say one of the great runs of pro football history may have come to an end last night. What do you think?
I don't know why this is the run.
You don't know why this is a run?
No, what's the run? What run?
Kansas City.
Are they? They're not mathematically eliminated, are they?
No, they still have a 12% chance.
Okay,
but I don't think it's going to happen.
So I'm glad you brought this up.
I said may have come to an end. I did not say has come to an end.
No, I'm not saying you though. But I read a lot of the Texans have ended, and I kept am I missing something?
No,
are they
12% chance.
Okay, so all right, more than likely they're done. Look, I will say this: as long as you have Patrick Mahomes, I don't think they're done by any stretch. So for this year, look, it's hard to win at that rate. It is hard to constantly win 10, 11, 12 games, make deep runs, go to the playoffs, go to the Super Bowl, conference championship games even. So I'm going to venture a guess. Now, crazier things have happened. I feel like we're going to talk about Kansas City in position to win a championship again here in the next couple of years.
I don't doubt that it could come back.
Sure.
But I mean, when you look at it from the standpoint of an organization that has won 9 straight AFC West division titles, is a sub 500 team down the most critical stretch of the season and is on the outside looking in of the playoff picture. When you look at the odds, they're plus 390 now, and you're 4-1 shot to make the postseason, minus 550 to win.
Their key player, Travis Kelce, looks old as hell.
And he's near crying on the sideline because he's nearing retirement. So his element of this is done, you would imagine.
Yeah, his life's going to be terrible in retirement.
Yeah, it's going to be really poor, too.
He's not the breadwinner. He's been emasculated.
And I think also the fact that, in last night, what was a gotta-have-it game, you lose by double digits in what was statistically one of the worst games of Patrick Mahomes' career. And listen, it's not all him, but look at some of the numbers. Career low, 42% completions. His first ever game with no touchdowns and 3 picks, held scoreless in the first half of a home game for the first time in his career. The 10 points scored was the fewest ever in a home game start. That's 76 other games that has never happened. And so it feels like the beginning of the end in Kansas City. And Patrick Mahomes, after the game, spoke about them being close, but just not there.
We've been close all season. I mean, that at the end of the day, you got to go out there and make it happen. I got to make the throw a little bit earlier so that guy can't close. We got to make those plays. We got to score touchdowns in these moments, and we got the talent, we got the heart, but we have to go out there and execute it. And until we prove it, we'll come away with losses. So I mean, like I said, I know we're going to give everything we have. We'll give ourselves a chance, and see what happens.
And they're not covering either, JVT. So they lost 4 of their last 5 games, 5 straight no covers, 1-8 against the spread against teams with winning records this year, too. It has not been good.
Well, and that to me is one of the more interesting things. You know, we talk about this every once in a while, which is, you know, market stubbornness, for lack of a better term, where a betting market will have its thoughts on a team and will rarely budge from those thoughts outside of, you know, key injuries. And for the Chiefs, that has been the case. Look, I know I had a couple of champagne of beers yesterday when I was sitting here at Circa. I did not hallucinate the market get to 5.5 before this game getting kicked off. Yep. There was a one-way traffic on Kansas City leading up to it, and you just don't really understand, you know, what? Like, why? What are we doing? What are we looking at here? When we're sitting at 3, and you and I talked about this throughout the week, you can make the argument that you're at the buy low, or excuse me, the sell high point, or the high point, I should say, for Houston. You know, their market rating had increased exponentially over the last 3 weeks. Obviously, they're inching closer to the top. At -3, it makes some sense that maybe if you want to push back on that sentiment, and we saw some of that. But for this to get to 5.5, I mean, have we watched Houston? It was incredible watching what they've been able to do to every quarterback in the NFL, and now Patrick Mahomes is not safe from that. But to your point about how they haven't covered these numbers, the market has been stubborn in the way it has rated this team. And almost every week it seems like it's getting bet, and it has failed.
And I want to say, like, no shade to our colleague Mike Somich, who I adore and respect so much, but we played a clip of him yesterday on Live Bet Sunday talking about Patrick Mahomes for MVP. No, but, like, this goes back to the argument of the game. Is like, I can't make that bet because I don't think the Chiefs are going to win this game today. And that ends up coming to fruition with Houston getting the double-digit win. They are still back of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are -165 favorites in the division. Houston +150 in the AFC South. Your Colts now out to 22-1 after the result yesterday in Indy, where the Jags win 36-19. And you see your quarterback, Daniel Jones, who has been already toughing it out, playing through a fracture in his fibula, to an Achilles injury that now is going to cost him not only the season, but beyond that.
I mean, they're done. Do you bet under 9.5 wins? Are they going to win another game as you move forward here this season? I just don't think that's going to be the case. They're 8-5 right now. If that's a legitimate win total, and your quarterbacks down the stretch are going to be some mix of Riley Leonard and maybe Anthony Richardson. I was talking to some people today.
Real quickly, one of the best defenses in the NFL in the Seattle Seahawks, against the 49ers, against the Jags, and against the best defense in the league in Houston. 2
of your opponents are 2 of the best defenses in the National Football League. The other is one of the best offenses in the NFL, and the 49ers that are getting healthier. And then there's whatever the Jags are, who, look, they just beat the crap out of you, so who are you to say? By the way, losing streak continues. Have not won in Jacksonville since 2014.
The House of Horrors.
I mean, now, quite literally now. I mean, after this year, everything goes down the drain. It sets them back maybe a couple of seasons. But if the adjusted win total right now is 9.5, where are your 2 wins here if you're Indianapolis? Because the reason why I bring that up, and it's not like he'd be some godsend, I was looking into it a little bit more and talking to some people. I don't think Anthony Richardson's coming back anytime soon.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some mix of Riley Leonard, and I think Brett Rippon is on their practice squad that they might elevate here. So what's the hope here that they're going to even get to 9 wins?
That's a good discussion and something we can dive a little bit deeper on at the end of this hour, and call me crazy. But with that, the Colts, who had a 7-1 start to the year, and we're talking about top seed in the AFC, has now dropped 4 of their last 5 games, including 3 straight, all in the AFC. And if you ask Liam Cohen, he thinks his team's not getting talked about enough. Take a listen.
It ain't coming. You know that. It's not. So, and that's the beauty of it. And that's totally fine. And, it's one of those things that I think the group right now, Houston was good for us. I do believe that. The end of Houston was good for us. And to know that each game is going to be a 60-minute football game, and our mindset and mentality has to be that way. And when you get into December and you're going to go play some really difficult games on the schedule coming up, and everyone counts. Trevor just said it. Everyone is exactly the same right now moving forward for us. And very proud of these guys getting the 9 wins, but a lot of work to be done.
And I mentioned where they sit in the AFC South in terms of the odds, -165 odds on number. They're 7th on the board in the AFC, Do you view them as potential for a legitimate contender come playoff time, or is this just kind of a good for you, you'll get the division, and that's about that?
I think defensively, sure. I think Cohen's right in that we don't talk about them enough in the sense of, they're top 10 defense by many different metrics. EPA per play, success rate, everything in between. So, they've proven to be a very formidable defensive opponent. I don't think they're on the level of Seattle or Houston, but they are a team that's good enough there. I think the thing that would hold you back is Houston's good enough on defense where they're overcoming what has been a pretty average offense, no matter who's at quarterback. I don't know if Jacksonville's good enough on defense to overcome some pretty average play from Trevor Lawrence.
Fair.
I mean, even in the winning streak up to yesterday, Lawrence over their last, they think they had, 4 to 5 games or whatever it was heading into the Indianapolis game, had thrown 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, really hadn't been taking care of the football. They had been winning in spite of it, but against a lesser schedule. I do think that's what gives me some trepidation of believing that Jacksonville, who knows, in a weak AFC where you're looking around and going, who ultimately terrifies you? Maybe they are good enough, but that's what gives me a reason to pause here for Jacksonville.
Also, one more game I want to hit here. As someone who was adamant about the Green Bay Packers and this thing having to end with the Bears and laying the 6.5, the fact that the Bears almost did it again was nauseating. But Caleb Williams throws the game-sealing interception in the end zone at the end of this thing. Packers win 28-21. They cover the 6.5. But another near mind-numbing experience. And hey, credit the Bears. Caleb Williams, I thought, played really well considering how much I was hyping up the Packers' pass defense. He actually did really well in that area against them. What did you make of the performance last night?
I knew it. I knew he was never going to do it. I knew that was going to get intercepted.
And the same game teaser.
Did you get there?
So it's Green Bay to win in under 50.
Oh, barely. Look at that. 49, huh?
Yeah.
Was my math right? Am I good at math? Yeah.
Stress.
You would have just a final blow from Caleb Williams. Still, he plays relatively well when he gets out and he's kind of crafting on the fly, if you will, outside of the pocket. He's still got some really nice throws. But again, yesterday, just 54% completion. It is incredible that they just can't get that aspect of their offense together, that there's just not any sort of efficiency, and yet they still continue to find themselves in some of these games.
Oh, just what a freaking game. And good for Green Bay, because if you are somebody who really thinks of yourself as a contender down the stretch, you needed to win that game at home against this team. Huge for the division, all of that. Did want to remind you, fans at home, so obviously we're broadcasting as always from Circa Resort and Casino, and if you missed the deal the first time around, good news, we're giving you one more chance to score an unforgettable Vegas weekend right here at Circa right now. The first 100 new VSiN Pro annual subscribers who sign up using the promo code CIRCA are going to get a free 3-night stay right here, January 2nd through the 5th, plus a day bed outside at Stadium Swim during the final weekend of the NFL regular season. Yes, the pools are heated. You'll also save 50% off the monthly price and get a full year of VSiN Pro. That's the daily best bets, betting splits, AI prop tools, 24/7 video, and every betting guide, including the college football playoff betting guide that's coming out this week. We're going to talk CFP coming up next, but don't forget vsin.com/circa. Promo code CIRCA gets you in there.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Let's get to what everyone was talking about yesterday, unless you were living under a rock.
Daniel Jones?
Saw that the College Football Playoff Selection Committee put out their final set of rankings on Sunday morning. We have the 12-team field that will be vying for the 2025 National Championship, and while we have the answer, there are still a lot of questions about how it all went down. The big stunner of the day, Miami leapfrogging Notre Dame for the final at-large spot. The Irish are staying home, while Miami and Alabama get in.
Were you shocked? Were you surprised? Were you stunned?
I think so. I will go. Yes, you saw my live reaction to it as it happened.
Yes.
We were on the air yesterday for Countdown to Kickoff when the rankings reveal got done. And after JVT was done screaming at the process of the reveal taking way too long, we did finally actually
It did take forever. We can't get into your allegiances with ESPN. You can never criticize, but that was ridiculous. We didn't get our first seed until 9:25.
You're a little bit dramatic. You were trying to make the comparison to the March Madness bracket unveil, where there are
straight to biz.
Significantly more teams that you have to get through compared to 12 here. Neither here nor there.
ESPN does nothing wrong. We get it.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That said, my reaction was that I think Miami, when you do the head-to-head with Notre Dame, was probably the right decision to be made.
Sure.
But the way they went about it was completely wrong. And the committee told you week after week after week that they viewed Notre Dame above Miami, and then did the old switcheroo in the final set of rankings. And that's a problem. And I think that's why you see Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavacqua saying this on Barstool this morning.
Our problem, Dave, is with the process, right? So we were, for right or wrong reasons, and you might totally disagree with me, but we were absolutely led to believe this entire CFP ranking season that we were in. You know, you go back to that first ranking, we were 6-2, Miami was 6-2, and they beat us. They beat us in that first game. I'm not going to argue that. I mean, that's plain as day. You know, it was a good game, but they beat us. But we were both 6-2. We were 10th. They were 18th. The only thing that happened from that point is we both won out in convincing fashion. I think we won our next 4 games by an average of 30 points. For some reason, we end up 11th and on the outside looking in. In the Tuesday ranking, the penultimate ranking, all of a sudden we drop below Alabama. We go and handle business in Stanford in a very convincing fashion. Alabama beats an Auburn team that had a difficult year, and it was a close game. And like, we're not getting reasonable explanations for this.
And speaking of explanations, if we can tee up the sound for Hunter Yurachek now, the College Football Playoff Committee chairman was asked by Reese Davis following the selection decision about how they came to moving Miami over Notre Dame. Here's what he had to say.
Every single ranking up to this point, you had it the other way. Why, without benefit of another game being played, did this change?
Reese, first and foremost, the debate I hear you guys having in my ear in the studio, I'm sure it's been debated over the last 12 hours, and that was the debate we had in our committee room into the early morning hours, and then again as the sun was coming up. And the first move in that was we felt like the way BYU performed in their championship game, a second loss to Texas Tech in a similar fashion, was worthy of Miami moving ahead of them in the rankings. And once we moved Miami ahead of BYU, then we had that side-by-side comparison that everybody had been hungering for with Notre Dame and Miami. And you look at those two teams on paper, and they're almost equal in their schedule strength, their common opponents, the results against their common opponents. But the one metric we had to fall back on, again, was the head-to-head.
Okay, JVT, so here's where you get me fired up. Because, one, the comparative pool, okay, I may or may not have spilled my coffee on the desk during that soundbite. It's fine. But the comparative pool thing is ridiculous, that having one team in between them is what changes the rationale. If two teams are so equal that you're not even looking at that other metric because there's another team in between them, that doesn't make sense. And then you have the other, so to put that to bed, Notre Dame should have been behind Miami weeks ago, and all of this drama would have been 100% avoidable. But then he gives the comparison with BYU after their conference title game, taking a step down, a notch down in the rankings, which you can't in the very same breath say that and say that Alabama shouldn't be impacted after they lost their conference title game. It makes no sense. And it's very frustrating, I think, from the outside looking in for anybody who bets on this kind of stuff, where the market was completely wrong, by the way, on this. Notre Dame, right before selections, was minus 3,000 to make, Alabama minus 260, and Miami plus 156. So this is not a predictive market. It's clearly a reactive market, and we talked about that a lot yesterday. But this is why people are ticked off, because the committee set the stage with Alabama leapfrogging Notre Dame after a whatever win in the final week of the regular season against Auburn for no realistic and rational reason, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm just very frustrated at the process and how it all has transpired the way that it did, because they set themselves up to have all of this anger when if they would have just had Miami above Notre Dame this whole time, you wouldn't have this drama.
Or they just don't do the rankings every week. If they didn't do these rankings every week and we treated college football like we do college basketball, in that we just have the Joe Lunardis of the world with bracketology kind of projecting what the field would look like as we move forward, and then we get one ranking, one final. If we had no ranking show all year long and this was our final ranking, the first time we got to look at their process, what are we talking about today? You
don't think that people would still be pissed?
No, I mean, you'd probably be upset about whatever. Nobody's ever going to be unhappy. But if you had no knowledge of the committee's process and we only got one look at it, which was Selection Sunday.
Strong disagree.
What are you talking about? This is the bracket, right? Miami's ahead of Notre Dame. You're disagreeing because you know what the process has been like up to this point. I'm saying if we've had no look at what this committee's doing, we have no rankings, we got no moving up and down week to week. The only thing we have to go off is some sort of bracketology, the AP poll, whatever, and we just have conversations about, hey, where are these teams at? And the only time we ever get a college football playoff ranking is the final selection Sunday. This is a bracket that people generally are happy with. Miami is ahead of Notre Dame. They get treated well because of the head-to-head. There's no real problem with it.
I disagree. I think people are still going to be ticked off.
Of course.
And listen, we are just talking about the Notre Dame, Miami, Alabama portion of it. Let's also throw in the fact that we have the 5 highest ranked conference champions, which now has 2 group of 5 teams in because of what the ACC did. And that's another thing because the committee probably didn't want to have a field that didn't have an ACC team in, especially with the resume that Miami had when all was said and done. And they get in because Duke wins the ACC. And that sets you up for James Madison to be in the field now. And I don't want to say anything bad about the opportunity for a group of 5 program to be in, because I think if you are somebody who is at JMU or you're alum of the program or whatever it is, you are thrilled to high heaven that your team has an opportunity to be in this, and they had a great season, and it's nothing to down them or what they did. And I also know that Cinderella is what makes March Madness magical and what makes the College World Series so fun when you have one of those lower seeded teams that makes a bit of a run. But in the college football playoff, the field is so small that having 2 of those teams in the field doesn't make sense when there are teams that are significantly better. So I'm happy for JMU. Congratulations. But you're a 600 to 1 shot or an 800 to 1 shot, depending on the board you look at, for a reason.
So we should have no group of 5s.
I like the element of it, but I do have trouble with it in a 12-team field.
I mean, I just think at some point you have to play these games. I mean, you cannot sit here and say Team X does not deserve to be in because they have no shot at winning it.
No. I agree. And that's why I have always been a proponent of a group of 5 team having the opportunity to get in and making a run. And I think it's going to make a lot more sense in the 16-team field. But in a 12-team field, to have 2 of them, I do not agree with it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's, like you said, that's the ACC's fault, right?
Correct.
It's the conference's fault. It's these teams' fault for losing these games. It's the conference's fault for having the tiebreaker set up the way that they are
Well, and that's why they're changing it. The ACC has already come out and said they are going to change that.
Right, but I think it's somewhat ridiculous to say these 2 teams don't make it. They don't deserve it. James Madison doesn't deserve it. When the reality is the ACC, the general thought of they should not be in this field or you have a problem with them in this field, is the other teams. They failed. They failed where they shouldn't have. And that is the problem. I saw a lot of, Texas should be. This is ridiculous. How come Texas lost 3 games? They just don't lose 3 games. Win some of those games that you probably should, and we're not having these conversations. But for the thought being, hey, this team has no shot at winning it, so they shouldn't be in it, I think it's a little ridiculous.
I disagree with that as well. The point spread of it all, if that were the case, then Notre Dame would be in, right? And so,
I mean, that's what drives me nuts about the gambling space in general. A lot of people keep doing this thing. If they be favored, well, then how about this? Let's just have the odds makers make power ratings, and let's not play a regular season, and let's just make the tournament right at the beginning, and we could just play it that way instead of a regular season. It's stupid. At some point, the results on field have to matter. And personally, I don't care about TV ratings or whatever it is. It's funny how in one breath, a lot of people will talk about the kids. It's always for the kids. So, and then at the same time, we'll go, get these kids out of here, man. We expanded this for a reason to get the more teams in. These teams are getting in, and now it's we want those ones in. And that's a ridiculous statement, I think.
Okay. We got this part of the argument out of our system. Coming up a little bit later on, we will get to the odds of it all, the games that are set, the national championship odds, teams who can make or miss the big game. Also, we talk all the time about making smarter bets, and smart advertisers are doing the same right now with Mission Media. If you want real results, Mission Media connects your brand with audiences that actually engage. Your brand deserves more than impressions. It deserves influence. Get started today at vsin.com/advertise or email advertising@vsin.com.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Make the holidays unforgettable unforgettable with Omaha Steaks. From holiday roasts to hand-selected gift packages, Omaha Steaks is delivering top-quality meals and memorable gifts that bring everybody together during the holiday season. Every steak is perfectly aged and hand-carved for exceptional flavor. And right now, as a VSiN exclusive, you get 16 free smash burgers with any order of $129 or more, plus 50% off site-wide. Head over to omahasteaks.com/VSiN. That's omahasteaks.com/VSIN. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details.
Put on your tinfoil hats.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. The whole world gone crazy.
For Call Me Crazy, but...
Oh, man, who doesn't love a nice overreaction Monday as we welcome you back to Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel, time for Call Me Crazy, but. And I'm going to start with the freaking Pittsburgh Steelers, JVT, because call me crazy, but Tomlin's going to do it again and get another over 500 season, isn't he? They're coming out of the win against Baltimore yesterday. They retake sole possession of first place in the AFC North. They're just 2 wins away from going over their win total and keeping the historic Tomlin over 500 streak alive. My stance on the Steelers, I do want to make clear, remains the same. They are not as good as their record. But they've been that way for years and just keep doing it. And you look at the remaining schedule, they've got Miami coming up next week, at Detroit, at Cleveland, and at home against Baltimore once again. They're going to do it, aren't they?
They're going to go 1-3 and finish 8-9, and he will not have a winning season. You're crazy.
You're doing it? Okay, I'm crazy.
Miami's played a lot better. I know a lot of people are going to immediately go to Tua, cold weather, Monday night in Pittsburgh, whatever it is. But this team is clearly turning a corner with its offense. The Lions game is going to be very difficult for them. We could give them a Browns contest where, I don't know, is it Shador playing quarterback? Who knows what that looks like?
Well, apparently, yes. Kevin Stefanski said this morning that he is QB1 the rest of the way.
Okay. I mean, you got to get a look at him, so I guess that makes some sense. He made some pretty good throws. He also ran into a sack and had some odd moments throughout the game. But, look, I'll go out on a limb and say you're crazy. They're going to go 1-3, lose to Miami, Detroit, Baltimore, and finish 8-9.
You can't just have any positivity for my win total, can you? It's always something.
What do you have?
I have over 8.5.
Oh, so that's what this is? You're just trying to speak this into existence?
Maybe.
Oh,
maybe.
okay. Okay. Right.
Also, to dovetail off of this, and I'm sorry I'm commandeering the segment, but
It's your show.
Call me crazy, but that was a touchdown for Baltimore, was it not? Like,
Okay.
if you're a Ravens fan or a Ravens bettor today, you're pretty pissed off about
So
that.
here's my complaint or my issue. And some of you idiots, like, read a little bit, get a little bit of reading comprehension before you start jumping into the mentions here. So I tweeted it out, which was like, look, you can get a molecule of the football, just an electron of the football over the pylon or over the goal line, and we consider it a touchdown, and yet likely can get the ball, extend it out, take 3 steps, but he drops it. And so it is not a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers earlier in the same game throws a pass. It gets batted up. He catches it, but does not complete the process of a catch because as he's going down, he drops it. But they say he's down the second his knees hit the ground and he's got the ball in his hands. These sort of things just don't jive. You've got to, I think, change the way you look at these receptions because for likelies to not be ruled a touchdown, but Aaron Rodgers to be ruled that he is down because he has possession, those two things don't make sense. And again, you can't also do that when I watch a guy hit the outside of a pylon allegedly going for a touchdown and it counts, but these other things don't. That's what drives me nuts.
That's the frustration. Also, in a pool report from Mark Butterworth, the NFL Vice President of Instant Replay, on the overturned touchdown, said, quote, "The control is in the first aspect of the catch. The second aspect is 2 feet or body part in bounds, which he did have. Then the third step is an act common to the game. And before he could get the 3rd foot down, the ball was ripped out. Therefore, it's an incomplete pass. 2 steps isn't enough. And also, what's an act common to the game in the end zone? It's not like you have anywhere to go, right? Like, that's what you're doing is being in the end. You're already there. You took 2 steps. How is 2 steps not enough?
I'm with you. I just don't. I think you really got to look at what you're going to do here with this, especially when it comes to the touchdowns. When the bar is so low for a runner to score a touchdown, but it's not for a receiver, there's got to be a change there.
All right, where do you want to go?
Can I go to the Big Ten championship game? I would like to start there, crew, if we could, because Ryan Day, who I found out on social media was just a fraud waiting to be exposed after they lost the Big Ten championship game over the weekend. Yes, the defending champs. Call me crazy. Why would Ryan Day and Ohio State care about the Big Ten championship? Seriously, we know what's going to happen. We knew that the loser was just going to fall and be the 2 seed or whatever it was. Indiana wasn't going to fall out of it. Ohio State, as we learned, is the 2 seed. There was absolutely nothing for Ohio State at stake there. Now, very quietly and very, I would say, importantly to point out here, there was nothing at stake for Indiana either, other than a moribund program who very much would love and did to win a Big Ten championship game. But in the grand scheme of things, sorry, folks, that game meant nothing. So when you go back to some of the game decisions on short yardage, things like that, and people were like, why would you do that when you have these receivers? If I'm Ryan Day, why would I put key short yardage situational plays on tape in a game that means absolutely nothing for me in the grand scheme of things?
No, it makes sense. And I said this to you yesterday when we were on the air, that I think for Ohio State, do you want to win the Big Ten?
Sure.
Obviously, sure. But are you super ticked off if you don't either? No, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to win is a national championship. And if you can have an opportunity down the stretch in the playoffs to utilize some extra stuff in your back pocket, why wouldn't you?
Yes.
So I totally get it. I'm with you on this.
It's not a preseason game exactly, but I don't think you're busting out your best stuff in a Big Ten championship game that does not affect what your ultimate goal is here, which is to win a national championship for a second consecutive year, by the way.
I can't wait for the tweets to flood in being mad at us about that. Which, by the way, tweet at us, at VJVT, at Storm Buonantony, at VSiN Live. But I'm in complete agreement.
This is the process they set up. I talked about this last year when we were on primetime. I said, when you go to this, hey, ranking equals seeding thing, you're going to get another type of Big Ten championship game. Remember last year? Yeah. It was Oregon and Penn State. It was, 1-3? And they ended up with a one-score game. That game's going to mean nothing. Yeah. It's going to mean absolutely nothing in terms of, hey, these two teams are just going to get buys. You're going to be fine. Yeah. And guess what? It happened to the Big Ten again.
Yep. Call me crazy, but the Colts are in trouble. And I'm not just talking about this season. 8-5 right now, but it hasn't felt like that for a few weeks. Daniel Jones goes down with the Achilles injury, which is going to shut him down for not only the rest of the year, but likely the start of next season. Also, we just got the news. What happened to
Riley Leonard is questionable with a knee injury suffered in the loss to Jacksonville.
And who's their third-string quarterback?
Well, right now they technically don't have one, I believe. Unless I've missed it, they're officially going to activate Brett Rippon at some point.
Look at us go. So with that in mind, the remaining schedule we talked about earlier, at Seattle, 49ers on Monday Night Football, the Jags, and then at the Houston Texans. Even if they squeak into the playoffs, I would say it's probably a fade. And then you look to the future. Are you paying a guy who historically has been a below average quarterback with an injury history, who's now coming off of an Achilles? I would hope not. And have you been able to discover anything from Anthony Richardson, who you drafted with the 4th overall pick? No, because you decided to sit him this year anyways, and he's still injured.
Yep.
So what are you to do, especially with the fact that, as you pointed out very astutely yesterday, you also don't have your first-round picks anymore because you drafted Sauce Gardner. Because you did the deal for Sauce Gardner.
You know, sometimes in basketball or in football, you know, you'll draw up a play so you can get like an easy completion. This is exactly what you did here, so you could get me to agree with you. This is my take. I said this yesterday on Live Bet Sunday. Of course they're screwed. I mean, what are they going to do?
I just need to have one every week that you agree with for once, because you're usually pretty anti my opinion.
Yeah, what are they going to do? Yeah. Seriously, I mean, next year
it's tough.
It's going to be Anthony Richardson. We'll see. Maybe he develops. Maybe he becomes what they thought he was going to. But and then how about that? I mean, if Richardson starts to play well, and then you put yourself in a scenario at the end of the year where you have to decide, like, Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, what's going to happen? No, they're going to be screwed. They're probably going to be pretty bad next year, or at least relatively bad, and they're not going to have a draft pick. So
Dude,
yeah, they're cooked.
It's tough look.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know which one to say. I agree.
I want you to put your next one up there on the board.
Let's see. Where do we want to go? I mean, you said this. This isn't really that crazy. We can set this out. Awards and playoff markets, not predictive. We should stop treating them like they are. I saw a lot leading up to the Selection Sunday that, Notre Dame's minus 3,000. They're in, like citing it as gospel. Folks, they have no idea what's going on here. And by the way, case in point, awards market. Guess who's the odds-on favorite once again to win MVP after this last week?
Oh, Mateo Stafford. Let's go.
What are we doing? This is literally just moving with every single little game.
Tell you.
None of these have any idea what's going on. Awards market specifically, we can give you example of having no clue whatsoever. I was listening. I can't remember who said it, but they were referencing the Heisman race, and they asked for the odds. They got the odds. They said, "Oh, well, Pavia's out of it." It's like, how do you know that? Like, the odds market does not know that. And granted, Pavia might not win it, but I just think the citing of awards markets from people who are in the gambling space as predictive as the Bible, as gospel, I think is foolish. We have plenty of examples to know that they are not.
Sometimes it can give you a good read on where something might end up trending toward, but no, it is not gospel, and I don't think we should treat it as such. My last one here, call me crazy, but why are we playing videos out loud on our phone all the time? And I think this is less of a call me crazy and more of a PSA. Stop playing videos out loud on your phone in public. It's just disrespectful to the people around you.
Did something happen?
Nobody wants to listen to your TikTok video or your Facebook video on full blast.
Did something happen?
Listen, you know I'm in airports a lot. You know I'm
Okay.
in public settings
You
a
haven't
lot.
traveled for
People,
a very...
I've had this in my back pocket for a while.
Okay.
And it keeps happening everywhere I go. And the FaceTimes, too. Why are we taking FaceTimes and having public conversations allowed on speaker, like just sitting in an airport? Why are we doing that?
It's a new thing.
Well, it needs to stop. And I'm putting my freaking foot down. Okay, we'll be right back on Money Moves.